Building an empire is hard, but keeping it, that's the real fight. Tonight, we're connecting the dots between MC Hammer's golden era and Dapper Dan's Harlem revolution to see exactly where the money and the power went up in smoke. Now, it's hard to imagine that outside of the big balloon pants, MC Hammer was one of the most gangster rappers in the 90s.
So we thought, we'll go with the church boy. We'll go with MC Hammer, but he was the most gangster one of all of them.
I heard about it.
You know, Hammer was a big dog, man. He got respect in the streets. Came from a respected crew, and they handled business.
Whoever was on the phone said, hey, is Third Base still coming to LA? He said yes, and the voice said, good, they're dead, and hung up the phone.
Now imagine you wake up one morning and you are worth $70 million. $70 million. You have a 40,000 square foot mansion with gold plated gates. You have 17 luxury cars, 2 helicopters, a private jet, 2 swimming pools, an indoor recording studio, a 33-seat private movie theater, and I need you to stay with me here, a full baseball diamond in your backyard. You are 29 years old. Now imagine that 6 years later, 6 years, every single one of those things are gone.
You don't feel guilty about whatever you do, right or wrong, because once you lose that, then you got problems.
The mansion, gone. The cars, gone. The helicopters, gone. The baseball diamond, some other man's backyard now, bro. And not only is the $70 million completely gone, you are now $13 million in debt. Only in America can you make $70 million and somehow end up owing people money. Now, this is not a movie. This is not a parable your grandmother made so you stop from being reckless. This is the real documented, verified, court-stamped story of Stanley Kirk Burrell, the man the entire world knew as MC Hammer. And today, we're going to break down every single decision, every single moment, and every single person who helped him spin, mismanage, and torch one of the most extraordinary fortunes in entertainment history. And listen, we're gonna have some fun with this story because some of what this man did with his money is so wild, so unbelievable, so jaw-droppingly hilarious in hindsight that if you don't laugh, you'll cry for him. I'm Lionel B. Now let's get into it. Now, before we talk about the $70 million, we need to talk about where Stanley Burrell came from. Because you cannot understand why he spent the money the way he spent it without understanding what his life looked like before the money arrived. Now, Oakland, California, 1962. Stanley Kirk Burrell is born into a working class family on the rougher side of one of the toughest cities in America. No silver spoon, no trust fund, no connections, just Oakland. Which, if you know Oakland, you know the city will either make you or break you, and it doesn't apologize either way.
We call it Oaktown is the new Motown.
As a kid, young Stanley starts doing what a lot of talented broke kids do. He finds a stage wherever he can. In his case, that stage was the parking lot outside the Oakland Coliseum where the Oakland A's played baseball. He's out there dancing, entertaining people, passing the hat for tips. And one day, one magical life-changing day, the owner of the Oakland A's, a man named Charlie Finley, looks out his window, sees this kid dancing his face off in the parking lot and thinks, you know what? I like this kid. I'm gonna hire him. And just like that, Stanley Burrell becomes a bat boy for a Major League Baseball team. Now, the players immediately clock that the kid looks like Hank Aaron, Hammer and Hank, and they start calling him Little Hammer. Now, that nickname becomes Hammer, which becomes MC Hammer, which becomes the reason your parents embarrass you at every family cookout in 1991.
This is the home that made me work hard to want to be more than just a nobody in life or be more than just another drug dealer or something like that. This is why I started playing baseball. This is why I learned to play basketball and football right here at Brookdale Park. And as you can see, it's still no dogs allowed. We like to see how much dust is on the old jump shot. You know, does he still have it? Does he not? No, I told it down.
He serves 3 years in the Navy, comes back to Oakland with discipline, focus, and absolutely no record deal. So he does what any self-respecting hustler from Oakland would do. He presses his own records and sells them out of the trunk of his car, at swap meets, in parking lots, wherever people would listen. He raises $20,000 from two Oakland A's players, Mike Davis and Dwayne Murphy. Two men who looked at this dancing, rapping, hustling kid and said, "We believe in you." He used that money to fund his first independent album, Feel My Power. He sells 60,000 copies out of his trunk with no label, no distribution, no marketing budget. 60,000 copies from a car. Now let that marinate for a second, because the same discipline and hunger that made him sell 60,000 records independently is the same DNA that should have protected him when the big money came. Should have, we'll get to why it didn't. Now Capitol Records signs him, repackages the album, and the stage is set for what is about to be one of the most explosive moments in the history of popular music. February 1990, MC Hammer drops Please Hammer Don't Hurt Him, and the entire planet collectively loses its mind. Now this is not just the album, y'all, this is a takeover. You Can't Touch This samples Rick James' Super Freak and turns it into the most unavoidable song in America. You could not escape this record. You could not hide from it. Your grandmother was doing the hammer dance in the kitchen. Your mailman was doing the hammer dance on your porch. Teachers were doing the hammer dance at school functions, and nobody stopped them because we were all too busy doing it ourselves.
But this is really work, and you all dance, what, 6 hours a day to stay in shape?
6 hours a day, and a lot of times we run like 4 miles a day.
4 miles.
Yes, and that's prior to the tour. And it is a lot of hard work. I'll go as far as to say that some people who have come in have ended up leaving because it's a little tough on them. They think it's all glitter and everything, but it's some work to go into.
Now the album spends 29 weeks at #1 on the Billboard 200. 29 weeks. That is not a typo. The album eventually sells over 10 million copies in the United States alone, becoming the first hip-hop album in history to go diamond certified. Not platinum, not double platinum, not triple, diamond. Now Forbes puts Hammer on their list of the 40 highest paid entertainers in the entire world. In 1990 and 1991 alone, he earns an estimated $33 million. He out-earns Sean Connery. He out-earns Jack Nicholson. A man who was selling records out of his trunk in Oakland parking lots is now getting paid more than James Bond. He wins 3 Grammy Awards, gets a Saturday morning cartoon, an actual animated series called Hammerman, where his magic shoes could talk. Let that sink in. The man was so famous that somebody gave him a cartoon where his shoes had opinions. Now MC Hammer in 1991 is not a rapper. He is a force of nature, a brand, a cultural institution. And this right here is exactly the moment the clock starts ticking. Because what goes up this fast, this high, with this little infrastructure holding it up, you already know the answer. Now, alright, this is the part of the video you came for. Let's talk about the money. Specifically, how you take $70 million and make it disappear in 5 years. First, the mansion. And I need you to understand that when I say mansion, I'm using that word in the loosest possible sense, because what Hammer built was not a mansion. It was a small country with better marble. He buys a property in Fremont, California, and builds a 40,000 square foot compound from the ground up. Gold-plated gates at the entrance, because regular gates are for people who only have $50 million. 2 outdoor swimming pools, 1 indoor pool with 3 actual waterfalls inside the house. 3 waterfalls in the house. Italian marble floors throughout that cost $2 million for the marble alone. A 33-seat private movie theater. A full recording studio. Multiple tennis courts. A 17-car garage. And I need you to be sitting down for this one. A regulation baseball diamond in the backyard. The man built a baseball field in his backyard. Not a little kid's t-ball setup, an actual baseball diamond in his yard. Now I have some questions. Did he have a team? Did he call people up on the weekends and say, hey, bring your glove, we're doing the thing? Who was playing baseball on this damn field? These are the questions that keep me up at night. Now the total price tag for the compound, $30 million. And here's the part that will make your eye twitch. Hammer later admits in his own words that he used his marble steam room bathroom exactly once. And he said he probably never sat on the couch in the living room. This man spent $30 million on a house he never fully moved into. He built a mansion to visit occasionally. But the house, as wild as it is not even the most unhinged part of the spending. Not even close. The entourage. Oh, the entourage. At the peak of his fame, MC Hammer is personally employing over 200 people. 200 human beings on the payroll. Now, some of these people are legitimate employees, bodyguards, professional dancers, musicians, tour managers, assistants, but a significant portion of his 200-person army, friends from the neighborhood, family members, people from Oakland who needed work, and Hammer said, come on, I got you. Which, and I want to be real with you, is actually beautiful. He didn't forget where he came from. He took the whole block with him. Now, the only problem is that you're taking your whole block, which costs you between $500K and $1 million every single month in payroll alone. Every single month. So before MC Hammer pays one personal bill, before the mortgage, before the utilities, before he buys a single thing for himself, he is already spending up to $1 million a month just keeping 200 people employed and paid. That's $12 million a year, just in payroll, just for the people around him. And listen, I'm not even mad at the people who took the checks. If MC Hammer called you from Oakland and said, bro, I'm paying $5K a month, come be on the team that does nothing, you are going. Don't lie to yourself, you're absolutely going. We would all have gone. Now let's talk about the cars. 17 luxury vehicles. Not 17 over a lifetime, 17 simultaneously. All parked in the garage, all being maintained, all being insured. All just sitting there looking expensive on days Hammer felt like driving something else. And then, this is where the story truly enters another dimension. The horses. MC Hammer buys a stable of 19 thoroughbred racehorses. 19 horses. Now I need someone to explain to me the thought process here, because you're from Oakland, you were a bat boy, you were in the Navy. At what point in that journey did thoroughbred horse racing appear on your vision board? When did you look at your life and say, you know what I need? More horses. But it gets better. Hammer gets so confident in one of his horses, a horse named Light Light, that he makes a personal bet with a billionaire businessman named Carl on a race. A bet against a billionaire on a horse. Hammer's horse loses. He pays Carl $35,000 out of pocket. Now Carl is worth billions. He did not need that $35K, but he took it because that's what billionaires do. Now by the time you add up the mansion, the entourage, the cars, the jet, the 2 helicopters, the 19 horses, the concert production costs, the shopping, the gifts, MC Hammer is spending money at a speed that would make a lottery winner nervous. Now here is where I need you to pump the brakes on the narrative for a second, because there is a version of the story that gets told where Hammer is just a reckless fool who burned his own money. And while yes, some of these decisions were breathtaking in their recklessness, that version of the story is not completely fair. Because Hammer did not torch $70 million alone. He had help. Now when you go from selling records out of your trunk to making $33 million in 2 years, you need financial advisors, accountants, business managers, people whose entire job is to sit across from you and say, Hammer, and I say this with love, you cannot buy 19 horses right now. Those people either didn't exist in this circle, didn't speak loud enough, or got drowned out by the 200 people around him who needed the checks to keep coming in. Now this is one of the oldest and ugliest stories in the music industry. Artist blows up overnight. Artist has no financial infrastructure because nobody built one for them. Artist makes decisions based on emotion, loyalty, and generosity rather than math. And by the time someone sits them down and shows them the real numbers, it's already too late to course correct. Now the people at the top of this management situation were not always steering him in the right direction financially. And the record deal itself, while it made him rich, also had structures that took significant chunks before Hammer ever saw a dollar. Was he spending too much? Absolutely. Should someone have stopped him? 100%. Did the system around him, the labels, the advisors, the industry machinery, serve his long-term financial interests based on the outcome? You tell me. Now 1991, Hammer drops Too Legit to Quit. The album goes double platinum, huge by any normal standard. But here's the problem. Nothing was ever going to match Please Hammer Don't Hurt Him. That album was the real money maker and was simply unmatched. And the music industry is ruthless about one thing. Yesterday's numbers don't pay today's bills. The cultural winds are shifting. Gangster rap is taking over. NWA, Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, Ice Cube. The streets want something harder, darker, grittier than Hammer's feel-good dance anthems. And the same mainstream audience that made him a superstar moves on, as mainstream audiences always do, to the next shiny thing. Record sales start slipping, the tour revenue starts dipping, but the expenses, the 200-person entourage, the mansion, the horses, the helicopters, those don't slip, those don't dip, those stay exactly the same. Now, no bill has ever missed a mailbox since the damn Pony Express. And this is the moment right here where the math becomes fatal. Because you can survive high expenses when the income matches them, but the second the income starts dropping while the expenses stay the same, then you are on the clock. And Hammer's clock was ticking loud. Then comes a decision that even the most loyal Hammer defender cannot fully explain. 1994. Hammer drops the album The Funky Headhunter. He tries to reinvent himself. Harder image, edgier sound, trying to compete in the gangster rap lane.
Because I know that tracks on your new album were produced by Daz and Corrupt from the Dog Pound.
Yeah.
And surely that whole gangster image is completely against what you're all about, because you're a Christian and all that business.
Well, they're not gangsters, they rap about hardcore subjects, but I don't know no gangsters who make rap records, I know some gangsters who run some record companies, but not making rap records, but they rap about hardcore subjects, I think the term gangster rap is something like, media made type of thing, because people have been doing hardcore raps for a long time, it's not nothing new. Just the term gangster rap just kind of like blows it out of proportion a little bit.
But don't you find there are a lot of negative images in other people's rap, not yours at all?
I don't know, it depends on, how you look at it. That's the reality, you know what I'm saying? What you see Snoop rapping about is where Snoop lived and hung out. He's rapping about what he knows, so I don't see that being negative. I see that there needs to be a change in his environment, you know what I'm saying? Some employment, some education, some recreation, and then maybe he'll have something else to rap about, but he's rapping about what he knows.
But surely, when he says things like, never hesitate to put a nigger on his back, surely that's not a positive image.
Positive image? No, but I know what he's referring to. In certain situations, right? If somebody steps to you and you have to handle your business, it's not necessarily a nigga on his back, it's anybody, It's anybody.
I think what you're saying now is that I'm on your back.
Well, if you step to me, I'll put you on your back, at least off the camera.
I'm afraid I'm gonna have to stop.
Hammer time.
He poses on the album cover, looking like he's been in the streets his whole life. Which, to be fair, he had. But the audience that loved him didn't want Gangsta Hammer. And the gangster rap audience already had Dre and Snoop and wasn't looking for Hammer to join that party. The album underperforms. The moment has passed. And the money, what's left of it, is still hemorrhaging out the door every single month. 1996. MC Hammer files for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. The man who had $70 million, who earned more in 2 years than most people earn in 10 lifetimes, files for bankruptcy at 33 years old. The filings reveal everything, and everything is ugly. He listed assets at the time of filing, $9.6 million. He listed debts, $13.7 million, meaning he doesn't have no money. He owes $13.7 million more than he has. He is $13 million in the hole. The mansion goes, repossessed and sold. All 17 cars, gone. The horses, gone. Though honestly, whoever bought these horses got a story to tell for the rest of their lives. Now the jets, the helicopters, the recording studio, the baseball diamond in the backyard, all of it, liquidated to pay off what can be paid off. Now the 200-person entourage down to zero overnight. And here is the part of the story that is simultaneously the saddest and the most instructive. Of those 200 people Hammer employed, fed, housed, paid, and took care of for years, very few showed up when the money ran out.
The house that Hammer built includes cousins, Navy buddies, and neighborhood pals. His brother Chris is the tour director, and brother Louis is his manager. He's hit it big, and he's taken everyone along for the ride. Can he keep getting bigger?
Oh, yes, he just started. I mean, it's, I think you have Hammer excitement. It's not Hammer mania yet.
You take the Chevrolet, I'll take the Mercedes. This is what I wear on stage normally. And when I don't wear this, I just wear the Porsche. What kind of deal are we talking about, Money Hall? 500, no tax, straight out the door.
The people whose rent he paid, the people whose cars he bought, the people he flew around the world on his private jet. When the jet was gone and the checks stopped coming, most of them were gone too. Which, look, I'm not gonna completely be harsh on those people either, because when the opportunity dries up, people have to feed their own families. That's life. But it does tell you something important about the difference between people who are loyal to you versus people who are loyal to what you can do for them. Now, Hammer found out the hard way which category most of his 200 were in. Now, here is where the story could go dark and stay dark, but MC Hammer doesn't let it. Because the thing about Stanley Burrell that gets completely lost in the bankruptcy narrative is this: the man gets back up. He starts going to church, becomes a minister, starts working with at-risk youth in the Bay Area, starts a ministry called Oaktown Serve. He rebuilds, not to $70 million, not back to the mansion and the helicopters, but he rebuilds his life, his dignity, and his purpose. And then something happens that nobody saw coming: the internet. Hammer gets on Twitter in 2009 and becomes one of the most entertaining celebrity accounts on the entire platform. He's funny, he's self-aware, he can laugh at himself. He knows exactly what people think of his legacy, and he leans into it with confidence that is actually kind of remarkable. He tweets about the parachute pants, he tweets about the bankruptcy, he makes jokes about the entourage. He owns the whole story in a way that most people who have been humiliated publicly never managed to do. He gets back into music. He pops up in commercials. He makes a Super Bowl commercial for Pepsi in 2012. He does a Kia commercial. He stays relevant in a way that artists who crash harder and more publicly than him never managed to figure out. He creates his own digital media company. He invests in tech startups in Silicon Valley, right back in the Bay Area where he started. He becomes a fixture in the tech world, rubbing shoulders with venture capitalists and startup founders who grew up doing the Hammer dance in their living rooms. And perhaps, most importantly, he starts talking openly and honestly about what happened to his money. He does interviews where he takes responsibility.
Everybody knew that I had 200 employees. It wasn't no secret. So what you think? I was paying them in hamburgers. So you know somebody was paying that payroll and it wasn't falling. So I was doing that. So if you wanted to now say the story is MC Hammer just pissed his money off when you knew that I was employing 200 people from my community, it said more about you than it did about me. So I didn't go on the radio to defend that. Because if you every now and then somebody would say, after the sensational part of it, they said, he took care of a lot of people. But anyway, we're going right next to the next commercial. So I said, wow, this is very interesting to me. So if a guy that in the middle of the crack era, when everybody was dying, machine guns everywhere, decided he wanted to try to pull some guys out of that, if his fate is to be the guy who we're going to introduce for the next 14 years is, hey, we're going to talk about MC Hammer next, how he pissed off 30 million. Man, that's what you get for trying to contribute to the community. But the guy who might be known for exploiting, and of course, we got our man right now with the hottest record in the world coming on next. He says every in the country needs to drop down now and suck here. Coming up next, our hero. I said, I need to let them do that, and I'm going somewhere else for a while, because that fight I'm not fighting. That's a personal fight. That's your perspective on life, the world, and how you see things. I can't fight that. You got to have what you want. Some people love this. Some people love that.
200 people. It's a little easier to hide stuff with that many people.
It's a different.
There's a loyalty, but I also think
it's not loyalty in this case per se.
But you're also on a really high level, so when that level started to drop a little bit, it made it tougher to take care of all these people.
We just talking about revenue generation. It's not real complicated. Are you making enough money to sustain the business? It's not. It's not that. So. But from my perspective, it was loyalty, but I just wanted to do loyalty with the interpretation of it. We were dying. This is the real thing. It's not fake. Go and look at the murder rate in my city at the time. My city became very famous for being in the top 3 in homicides. That's where I live. That's where I grew up my entire life. I didn't grow up somewhere else. Some of the people that were dying were my classmates, my neighbors. So when I had the hammer thing, I would literally call home. I'd be on the road. I'd call home and somebody say, hey, what John doing? What you mean what John doing? John dead. I said, what you mean John is dead? I just talked to him 2 weeks ago. He said, yeah, John dead and Sam killed him. I thought Sam lived 2 houses down from John killed him? Over what? Well, blah, 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 blah. So I said, well, let me speak to Sam then. Hey, Sam, man, check this out, man. Why? Well, blah, blah, blah. I said, why don't you come out here on the road with me, man? I can give you $30,000 a year. I can't give you what you're making on the block, but, man, I can't have you keep doing what you're doing. I mean, you killing the very cats we grew up with. Well, 10 turned to 20, 20 turned to 30. Okay. I'm cool with that. I was cool with that because the amount of money that I was generating was worth the lives to me. Now, in retrospect, for the sake of story, I always say, Hammer, if you had to do it all over again, wouldn't you? Come on, Hammer, just say you kept some of that money. I say, yeah, if I had to do it all over again, I would absolutely, put some of that money in the bank and all that. But the real truth is, not in exchange for the lives that lived, I wouldn't do it. I always knew that I could generate money. Right. I had my first job at 8. At 9, it's very documented. You can go to my Twitter right now and pull up a picture of me and Hank Aaron. It says the 2 hammers finally meet. Know what the date of the picture says? 1975.
Yeah, I've seen that.
In 1975, I was already in my 3rd year of a job. I've been an entrepreneur from day one, so I'm not ever concerned about generating money, but I got caught up in my humanity.
Now, all right, y'all, before we wrap this up, let's be real. What this story is actually saying. Because it would be easy to watch this video and walk away with, Hammer was reckless and done with the money. And that would be partially true and completely incomplete. Lesson 1. Generosity without structure is a financial death sentence. Hammer's instinct to take care of his people, his neighborhood, his family, his community was not a character flaw. It was a beautiful impulse. The flaw was that he expressed that generosity with no financial structure around it. A foundation, an endowment, a community organization with a budget. Any of those could have let him take care of Oakland forever. Instead, he put 200 people on personal payroll, and when the money stopped, so did everything. Lesson 2, the people around you during your ascent are not always equipped to protect you. 200 people, and apparently not one of them had the authority or courage to sit Hammer down and say, bro, we have a problem. Either nobody was watching the numbers or nobody felt safe enough to deliver bad news. Either way, that's a failure for the entire system around him. Lesson 3, income is not wealth. Hammer made $70 million. He was never wealthy. Wealth is what you keep, what you invest, what you build structure around. Income is what passes through your hands. For most of his peak years, Hammer had extraordinary income and almost no wealth. The difference between these two things is the whole story. Lesson 4. The music industry will celebrate you on the way up and hand you the bill on the way down. The label got paid, the promoters got paid, the venues got paid, and the lawyers got paid. And when the dust settled and the bankruptcy filing landed on the judge's desk, Stanley Burrell was the one holding the $13.7 million debt. Now, the industry doesn't go broke with you. Only you go broke. Lesson 5. Reinvention is real and available to anyone willing to do the work. The most underrated part of Hammer's story is not the fall, it is the getting back up. Without the mansion, without the helicopters, without the entourage, he gets back up, goes back to his community, finds his purpose, and builds something meaningful. That part of the story doesn't get told enough because it's harder to make funny content about a man going to church and serving his community than it is to joke about 19 horses and a baseball diamond. Now here is what I want you to leave this video understanding. MC Hammer was not a cautionary tale about stupidity. He was a cautionary tale about what happens when extraordinary talent meets extraordinary money, meets no financial infrastructure, meets an industry that profits from your ignorance. He was a kid from Oakland who figured out how to grind his way to the top of the entertainment world completely, independently, before a major label ever touched him. He had the work ethic, he had the talent, he had discipline to sell 60,000 records out of a car trunk. Now what he didn't have was the financial education, the right advisors, or a system designed to protect what he earned. And the brutal reality is, that's not entirely his fault. Nobody sat him down and taught him. Nobody built the infrastructure. And everybody around him was too comfortable to tell him the truth until the truth was unavoidable. He lost $70 million. He survived it. He rebuilt. He's still here, still talking, still dancing. Let's be honest. And somewhere in Fremont, California, there is a beautiful property with gold-plated gates and a baseball diamond in the backyard that belongs to someone else now. The lesson belongs to all of us. That's the story of MC Hammer. I'm Lionel B. If this video hit different, drop a comment. Share it with somebody who needs to hear it. And make sure you subscribe to Lionel B Stories for more content like this. And before you go, tell me in the comments, if you had $70 million in 1991, what would you have spent it on? Be honest. Don't judge Hammer until you answer that question first. Now, Hammer was definitely a legend for the books. And also, shout out to MC Hammer, man. He actually liked one of my comments on Instagram. I still got a lot of admiration for MC Hammer. So, y'all, let's get into Dapper Dan, the Harlem fashion kingpin. Did the biggest clothing designer of our time finesse an entire fashion industry? Today, we're talking about a man that not only changed the game, he created a whole new entire lane. Now, we're talking about the king of Harlem, the architect of luxury streetwear, the one and only Dapper Dan. This man had the biggest names in the world, from Mike Tyson to LL Cool J, knocking on his door at 3 a.m. just to get that knockoff drip that was actually better than the original.
I went from refashioning fashion to have fashion refashion me.
But it wasn't all glitz and gold monograms. There was a rise, a devastating fall, and a resurrection that would make a movie script look boring. So grab your popcorn, hit that subscribe button if you're new here, and shout out to all of you already rocking with Lionel B Stories. Now let's get into this incredible journey of Daniel Day. Now before he was Dapper Dan, he was just Daniel Day, born in 1944. He grew up in Harlem during a time when the neighborhood was the heartbeat of Black America. In those times, life was even harder. Harlem was a vibe, but was also a concrete jungle where you had to have a hustle just to breathe. Now Dan was a master gambler. I'm talking about a man who could read a dice game like a book. He was so sharp, so slick with it, that an old gambler, the original Dapper Dan, passed the name down to him like a torch. In the streets, your name is your currency, and Dan was already wealthy in reputation before he ever touched a sewing machine.
To be a professional gambler, you have to be a professional con man.
But the streets catch up to everybody eventually. Now Dan found himself behind bars in the late 60s.
I ain't taking from nobody, I ain't hurting nobody, and these banks got all the money. So the paper game was, you know what I mean? I said, man, I love this. What we did was, we took other people's credit cards and started nation hopping. So I went all through the Caribbean, all into South America. So what I did was I said, man, I'm gonna figure out how to make these credit cards, same way I did with fashion. I said, but before fashion hadn't said, I'm gonna figure out how to make these credit cards, right? So what I did was I got the power of a suit is amazing. So I put on a suit, white shirt and tie, and I went down to the World Trade Center where they had a company down there that made the machines, right? So that I could see what the machines look like that make the credit cards. So we're in Barbados, and I'm starting to feel, I've been to 4 countries already, I'm starting to feel like something might go wrong. So we leave Barbados and we go to Venezuela. And Venezuela, the soldiers, like, I said, damn, they rob people, the soldiers rob people there. So I got real nervous in Venezuela, so we left out of Venezuela and we go into Aruba. Now we're in Aruba and we're making a killing in Aruba, and all of a sudden, somehow the paper blows up. What that mean, the paper blows up? Somebody made a mistake out of my crew that I had, but I didn't know they made a mistake. So now I'm on the island and I can't get off the island. And I see police cars shooting up and down the avenue. I said, damn, they looking for me, man. Next thing I know, they got me.
Now most people, they go to the pen and come out harder. Dan went to the pen and came out smarter. He spent that time reading, studying history, and looking at the world from a global perspective. He realized that the way black people dressed was a form of language, but the big fashion houses in Europe wasn't speaking our dialect. When he got out, he didn't go back to dice games. He took the hustle and moved it to 125th Street. In 1982, Dapper Dan's boutique was born. Now you have to understand the era. That was the birth of hip-hop. This was the era of the ultimate hustler. Men like Alberto Alpo Martinez and Rich Porter were running the streets, and they wanted to look like royalty. Now Dan saw that these guys loved Gucci, Louis Vuitton, and Fendi, but there was a problem. Those brands didn't make clothes for us. They made tiny European sizes, and the designs were boring. They didn't make floor-length mink coats with the GG patterns on them. They didn't make leather tracksuits, so Dan said, fine, if they won't make it, then I will. He pioneered the process of silk screening those iconic logos directly onto leather and fabric. This wasn't just typical Temu bootlegging, y'all. This was black market luxury. He was taking European status symbols and remixing them for the streets. He turned the logo into a uniform. Now suddenly, the shop was open 24/7. You'd have Eric B and Rakim on the cover of Follow the Leader, rocking Dan's custom Gucci jackets. You had LL Cool J, Salt and Pepper, Big Daddy Kane. Everybody who was anybody was sliding to Harlem.
Salt and Pepper. You dig? They fun. So I made them jackets up with the colors and all of that fun outfit.
Now y'all, this is where the story of Dapper Dan gets even more crazy. Let's talk about the legendary fight that happened with Mike Tyson right in front of Dapper Dan's shop. Now this is the stuff of legends. In 1988, Mitch Blood Green confronted Tyson at Dapper Dan's at 4 a.m. A fight broke out right there on the sidewalk.
Dapper Dan was the place. You would see any rapper, any hustler up there at any time of the day, 4 in the morning, 2 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon. It's up there, it was packed, making orders for clothes, measurements, it was just packed. All the gangsters from all over the country. I fought this guy he came high. He was an angel, so he came high and Dapper talking greedy to him. After I fought. Yeah, he was getting high, robbing people, extorting people, so he came in there at 4 in the morning, and he's high, so he came in there and he started talking real greedy to me. And we got outside somewhere, and then we started fighting. And you won? Kind of, yeah. He was in bad condition.
Now when the news hit the papers the next day, there was Dapper Dan's shop in the background of every photo. It was the best and worst publicity he could have ever asked for. Now the success was undeniable, but the giants on the other end, they were waking up. Fendi, Louis Vuitton, and Gucci started seeing their logos on album covers and in boxing rings. They weren't seeing a dime of that money, and more importantly, they didn't want their prestigious brands associated with the black urban element. The law came down hard. Sonia Sotomayor, the future Supreme Court Justice, was actually one of the lawyers involved in the raids. They came in and seized everything. The screens, the fabric, the finished pieces. They treated the black market tailor like he was a kingpin at the Carter.
The raid ran me underground. Wonderful lady. And she was doing her job. Did a cease and desist order, and while I was out of town, they raided all my facility and all of that. All of that was like, in an instant.
Now by 1992, Dapper Dan's boutique was forced to close its doors. The fashion houses thought they had won. They thought they had erased him. For over 20 years, Dan went underground. He was still designing, still working, but the spotlight was gone.
She changed the game, man. Y'all gotta pay attention to history. That's what I'm getting mad about. Y'all don't know what this is all about. Y'all gotta pay attention to history, man. She changed the game.
He's a bad man.
Let me tell you something.
He became a ghost in the very culture he helped build. But here is where the story gets legendary. You can't kill a vibe, and you definitely can't kill a legacy. Now fast forward to 2017. Gucci sends a model down the runway wearing a puff sleeve jacket that looked familiar. It was an exact replica of a jacket that Dapper Dan had designed for the Olympic runner Diane Dixon in the 80s.
with what she wanted. And she had this idea. She said, Dap, I want you to make me something really special. I said, okay, what you want to look like? She said, I just wanted to look high fashion, right? So we came up with this concept that she would have these balloon sleeves. So I went and got that material, and I blew the arms up, and I used mahogany fur. And then I used a butter soft Louis Vuitton, and then put the material out to give it that effect. And it worked out amazing. So when Diane bust out with that, they didn't know how to take it at first. And then everybody started saying, wow, 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 because it was a lot. You know what I mean? I could not even imagine that the look that Diane Dixon wore would have such an impact on my life 30 years later.
The internet went into a frenzy. People were calling out Gucci for cultural appropriation and theft. But instead of fighting it, Gucci's creative director, Alessandro Michele, did something unprecedented. He reached out to Dan. They didn't just apologize, they went into business together. Now Gucci helped Dan open a new massive spot in Harlem, the first of its kind. They provided him with the official fabric, the official logos, and the official backing. The man they sued out of existence was now their partner. And it didn't stop there. Dan started collaborating with Gap, Pepsi, and even had his own memoir. He went from being a bootlegger to a pioneer. Now he stayed in the game long enough for the world to realize he was right all along. Now Dapper Dan's story is a lesson in resilience. It's about knowing your value even when the world tries to tell you you're illegal or not good enough. He took the forbidden and made it fashion. He didn't need a degree from a fancy school in Paris. He had the streets of Harlem, a vision, and the heart to never give up. Today, every time you see a high-end brand doing a streetwear collab, you're seeing the ghost of Dapper Dan. Now he paved the way so that today's creators could walk through the front door.
The community, Harlem, and the Harlems around the world created me. I am inspired by all the components that make up Harlem, and especially by those who I know roots lie in Harlem and they stayed in Harlem. You know what it means to see your people dancing and be joyous in the street? You got more community in that street on a Sunday and the different generations than you might find in the church, man. My mission to instill hope in the youth is to once again become part of the youth. A young man saw me on the train and he said, Dapper Dan, I never thought I'd see you on the train. I say, I'm on this train so I can see you. Because I know that if you see me, you can see yourself with the possibility to be me. That's the legacy I want to leave. That I stayed with them, that I never left them, that I was always accessible to them. Dear Harlem, thank you for putting up with me. Thank you for all you've done for me. Thank you for what you've made me. You are me and I am you.
Now what do you guys think? Is Dapper Dan the greatest to ever do it? Do you think the brands were wrong for shutting him down back in the day? Or was it just business? Now drop a comment below, I want to hear from you. So thank y'all for tuning into this video, man. I had an amazing time with y'all. Of course, I am Team Dapper Dan. I love Dap. So make sure y'all check out the brand, man. It's definitely official. So if y'all enjoying the content, man, y'all already know what to do. Make sure you don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, man. Tell your people about Lionel B Stories, man. We always try to make addictive little mini movies for you guys to enjoy. And I definitely appreciate the love and support y'all have been showing this channel. Y'all literally took me from 0 to we almost hit 30,000, y'all. So y'all, man, hey, this is Team Lionel B Stories, man. I consider all y'all families and I read all the comments, man. So if y'all want to see another brand or a particular person, y'all make sure y'all hit me in them comments and let me know. So y'all make sure y'all don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe on the videos. Share these videos. And I'm gonna peep y'all on the next one. Holla. Can't get enough? Click on the screen to watch even more fire content. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel. And you can also catch my videos on my other channels. The Lionel B Show Clips, Lionel B Stories, Lionel B's Garage, the Lionel B Network. And you can stream my audio on the go on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and any other major podcast platforms.